Okay, welcome to Saturday Fantasy Baseball. We are starting a little bit early, as we always do. We are waiting for the sound to come in through the chat room, and it usually comes in pretty quick on Saturdays, but we have a whole lot of stuff to talk about today, so I'm getting started early, and I would love to say hi to the people in the chat room as soon as the sound comes through, but you can always catch us every day of the week, 9 a.m., talking fantasy baseball. Monday through Friday is Lenny, 9 a.m. Eastern at LennyMelnickFantasySports.com/live. You can join in the chat room. You can sign up. We don't spam. We don't sell your information. None of that goes on. We just like to know who's chatting. But, of course, you can come in as a guest, too. And it's just a fun time had by all. We have some great baseball minds in our fantasy chat room. And so back to the schedule. It's Monday through Friday for Lenny, 9 a.m. Saturday is Saturday Fantasy Baseball with me, the Roto Lady. And Sunday is Lady and the Legend. That's me and Lenny both together. On Wednesday night, you can catch the Happy Hour with the Happy Hour Social Club King, Hap, and Taco. They have a great channel on Twitch as well. So if you have the Twitch app, that seems to work best for me because it keeps you logged in. You don't have to worry about going through all that nonsense. But they have a lot of great friends that join in their chat room at Twitch app. Or you can listen on Wednesday nights here at LennyMelnickFantasySports.com/live in the chat room. That's at 7:30 Eastern time. They talk about all the sports, not just baseball, which is what Lenny and I specialize in, of course. We're talking baseball every day of the week, even when we're not on the air. So the sound is good. I'll tell the chat room. Everybody, the sound is good. Now let's get started. The chat room is a little light today, but I don't blame it. It's, Saturday mornings are tough. We have a great crowd of people on the weekdays, and I don't take it personally if you have to listen later. We still love you. We understand that you probably have other things to do, or maybe you just wanted to sleep in on a Saturday. It's all good. So as the chat room continues to fill in, I will say hi to those of you who are here, which is SM King Turd, Lenny, Daniel the Hulkster, Boston Paul, Data Premier, Leonard is always here. He's my best supporter, and a couple of guests, 3 guests, 4 guests, triple play. Nice to see you, everybody. Great to have you aboard, and we'll go ahead and say hi to the chat room once more people come in. But let's get started. We have a lot to cover today, okay? So last year at this time, here's the players that were batting under 200. Marcelo Zuna, .094. That's when I dropped him, okay? Good grief, what a horrible move that was. Gunnar Henderson batting 129. Cabrian Hayes batting 159. Tristan Casas batting 161. Bobby Witt Jr., 186. Brandon Nimmo having another slow start to the season, batting 188 last year at this time. Keibert Ruiz, 189. Alex Bregman doing it again, batting 188 last year at this time. And, of course, Jorge Soler batting 190. Juan Soto, 190. Teoscar Hernandez never really figured it out, but he was batting 191 at this time. Christian Walker, 195. Heimer Candelario batting 200, and J.P. Crawford also batting 200. And the reason that I bring this up, of course, is because just hang tight. It's very frustrating right now, especially I just can't think of anything more disturbing than waking up every day and seeing your teams in last place. And there's not much you could do as you're waiting for people to get healthy. But do remember, while your players are getting healthy, right, like both of the Lows, Nathaniel and Josh, you got lots of people that started the season on the injured list who are beginning to come back and get healthy. Sonny Gray made his first start the other day. Jordan Montgomery is coming next. I know these two are not really flashy pitchers, and a lot of people will say to you that Sonny Gray and Jordan Montgomery are not winning anybody's fantasy leagues, and I will beg to differ, okay? I love these guys who don't throw flashy 100 miles an hour. I love them. I will draft them every single year continuously, okay? They might not be Spencer Strider with 300 strikeouts, but I'll tell you what, the chances of them staying healthy in this day and age are much better. Now, in the chat room, Chris JP, which is Zelmo's brother. Oh, wow, the chat room sure perked up. Great to see everybody here. Chris Gallo, Leonard Donaldson, Laura, my favorite fellow Mets fan, Merrill Hartson, Timothy, my hooker, and I can't see below that, Leonard. Where's Captain Danny?
You got Leonard Donaldson. You got
I said
Laura,
that.
You got Laura, you got Big Al.
I said I can't. Okay, Big Al is here. Great to see.
You got Merrill. You got Mitchell. You got
who's below Turd?
Timothy, my hooker.
Okay, Timothy Hooker.
Tommy Johnson.
Tommy Johnson. Great to see you.
Triple play.
Triple play.
And a bunch of guests.
And a bunch of guests. Okay, so Chris JP is not here, so he did post in the chat room before the show started. It talked about the Major League Baseball Players Association hitting Bad Bunny's Remus Sports Agency with sanctions. This is the agency led by musician Bad Bunny. They're in big hot water with the MLB Players Association. Remus Agency includes Francisco Alvarez and Ronnie Mauricio. They had an agent, William Arroyo. He had a certification revoked after MLBPA investigated following complaints about improper benefits provided to players. They have a lot of other players. They focus on Puerto Rican players mostly. Ivan Rodriguez was one of their players. They also have Wilmer Flores, Ezequiel Tovar, Santiago Espinal, Livan Soto, and Dodgers prospect Diego Cartaya, among others, as clients. So we'll see what happens there. Another guy, former All-Star pitcher Fritz Peterson, passed away at age 82. The Yankees announced the news and offered their condolences, but there's a pretty funny story behind this guy. If you guys remember in the chat room, I don't remember this. I wasn't even born then. 1973, they did a wife swap. It was two baseball players, teammates, okay? It was Mike Kekich and this Fritz Peterson basically did a wife swap. Their wives' names were Marilyn and Suzanne. They decided to reshuffle their relationships after falling for one another. And the quote from Peterson, he says, "All of us felt the same way. We went on from there, and eventually he fell in love with my wife, and I fell in love with his wife. Actually, it was a husband trade. Mike for me or me for Mike. It's a love story. It wasn't anything dirty." And the thing is this guy Peterson, this guy Fritz Peterson, who just passed away, remained with his teammate's wife for 50 years until he passed away recently. What a great love story. Now, the other couple didn't really last very long. It was only a brief relationship for those two. But this guy Peterson, Fritz Peterson, traded wives with his teammate and stayed with her for the rest of his life. I like it, okay? It kind of makes me tear up a little bit. Even though I have no idea who this guy is, okay? I wasn't even born at the time. I was still 2 years thought of.
He was a good pitcher.
He was a good pitcher, according to Lenny.
King Hap is here.
King Hap. Boom to Hap. I already advertised King Hap's show, but don't forget, he does happy hour 7:30 on Wednesdays, and he's been also doing Tuesday and Thursday nights, and I told you could find them on the Twitch app at Happy Hour SC. Also, it's a great show with great people in the chat room for interacting. They answer all your questions. They talk about all sports, not just baseball. They talk football, UFC, basketball, hockey, whatever. You name it, they're talking about it. Stardog is here. Great to see you, Stardog. I hope you're watching the Kansas City Royals do their thing right now because they are sure off on a tear. All right. Guest Javier, he says, there's plenty of moves at Oracle Park with Colton Cowser. That must be Merrill. I wonder if that's Merrill. Let me know. Okay. Here's a fun fact from King Turd on Twitter today, X. King Turd says, this is a fun fact. Julio Rodriguez, consensus top 5 pick and signed a $300 million contract, has a 100-point lower OPS than Nolan Jones. Where's the Julio criticism? Of course, and he then added, is he going to be allowed to be mediocre 75% of the year and remain a top 10 pick? Some of the 5x5 Roto heroes lack consistency, and Turd is right about this. And I know he was referring to Fernando Tatis as one who does lack consistency, although he started the season off pretty darn good. Even King Turd is questioning whether maybe he figured it out, because before the season started, he pointed out to our wonderful chat room about how Tatis only had one really great month, okay, and it really lifted his OPS. And so in points leagues, it was a good point to bring up, because you have to rely on your players to be consistent. And if you have a guy like Tatis who's just performing extraordinarily for 1 month out of the season, that does not help you get into the playoffs in your head-to-head leagues. Now, I responded to Turd and said, not saying very much, because Nolan Jones is sucking too. And he said he brought Nolan Jones up because Nolan Jones is 100-plus points better, and he doesn't hear any criticism of Julio Rodriguez, and he hears a ton of criticism about Nolan Jones. In fact, this is just me adding this in. Nolan Jones was added to the Risers and the Fallers article at RotoWire this week as one of the fallers. He goes on to say, he just points it out because he hears lots of worries about Nolan Jones, and Julio was mediocre for 75% of the year last year, and he's doing it again, okay? He said he's 100% sure that there used to be a consistency study done by Tristan Cockcroft every year, but alas, he made a joke, probably has been slashed for fantasy WNBA, and you have to laugh at that. Malpal, good morning to you. Good morning to Tina. It's great to have you aboard. And it's a wonderful day over here. Ippy Mizuhara. All right, here we go. Okay, here we go. You know, I wait all week to get my 2 cents in. Okay, and here's my chance. If for any other reason that I do this show, it's to get my damn 2 cents in, because I'm an opinionated little bitch. All right, here's how I feel. Ippy, first of all, these Dodgers fans are seriously the most insufferable people I've ever seen on X. When the whole news broke about Ohtani gambling and potentially gambling, the story changed a couple times. So most of the internet was questioning, why is the story changing? It doesn't make a lot of sense what's going on. What they told us first has now changed, which was, the first story they told was that Ohtani paid off Ippy's bets, and then they changed it around, and now Ippy is fully to blame. Ippy changed the settings in the bank app so that the notifications would go to him instead of Ohtani. He called the bank and talked to the people there several times, pretending he was Ohtani. I don't think any of that is unreasonable to accept, but Dodgers fans immediately, and we're talking about these guys that have Shohei Ohtani in their profile picture, and their name is like MLB All-Star Ohtani. And I mean, these people are diehards. Fine, I get it. But it really makes me wonder if this would be the same for every team, because all the fan bases are different. I'm really learning a lot about the fan bases this year, about how they deal with things, who the people are that are the most outspoken, how there's this one guy I follow, Eddie, you'll love this. Is Eddie here yet? I have a story about him, about an Orioles fan that I follow. But back to the Dodger thing. It was like, oh, don't question Ohtani. You people just want him to be bad because you're jealous, because he's not on your team and all of this. And it's like, dude, it's not wishing harm on Ohtani to ask reasonable questions that everybody should be asking. And I really wonder if this has a lot to do with the fact that, the Dodgers are an exciting team this year, and their fans, of course, they're the most excited about Ohtani. But when it becomes like a blinder to the fact that nobody's saying, there might be a couple people on X saying, we wish Ohtani the worst. There's a couple Padres fans that would hope that Ohtani goes to jail and never plays baseball again. That, but it's so few and far between. The most of the time, it's just people asking questions. So there was one guy in particular on X that I told him, you're going to have to delete so many tweets, because he just kept going on and on about Ohtani's not guilty, he's the victim, da-da-da, and nothing was even out yet. And we'll never know answers to a lot of these questions, I'm afraid. But I just told the guy, how do you know he's innocent so quickly? Same reason why you question, how do you know he's guilty so quickly? How do you know he's innocent so quickly? It's just two extremes that, it's kind of really pretty extraordinary to watch play out. But anyway, the other night when it came out that the IRS and the investigation showed that it was Ippy who did it and blah, 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 then I just got pummeled. These people would not leave me alone, just going on and on about how stupid I am, what a bitch I am, just like all these things. I ignored it for the most part, but till the third day. And then I was like, okay, get a fucking life, okay, people? Leave me alone. I will never, ever apologize for asking questions. I never one time said that I hope Ohtani fails. I don't even care if Ohtani gets suspended or not. In fact, I'm rooting against him getting suspended. I don't care if the guy gambles every day of his stinking life. MLB let this happen, and who cares? But these people act like this 37-page findings, okay, that was posted out there, and they're like, read, if you know how to read, you should read the 37 pages. I know it's a lot. I'm like, okay, I'll read the 37 pages. So I go and I start reading the 37 pages, and I'm thinking to myself, this is unbelievable. Is this even possible? Is it even possible to bet $325 million in less than 2 years among 19,000 different bets that he made, but none of them were on baseball? Just let that sink in for a second. This guy lost more than he won, and the Dodgers fans will tell you, well, it's obvious that Ohtani didn't know because Ippy was putting all the winnings in his own personal bank account. No, that makes it even worse. You're telling me that literally $325 million worth of bets was taken out of Shohei Ohtani's account and never put back? You're telling me that the $140 million that he won was put into Ippy's account? And by the way, you could talk $700 million, you could talk how rich this guy is, and maybe he doesn't notice. We don't notice things in our account too. We paid for subscriptions for a couple years without even acknowledging that they were there. That's fine. But we're talking about hundreds of millions of dollars, and this guy never noticed. I mean, either he's complicit or he's freaking stupid. I mean, how ignorant do you have to be? $700 million was his contract. That doesn't mean he had $700 million in his bank account, ever. He's getting paid $20 million a year, and you're telling me that $325,191,976 of bets with Ohtani's money, that he didn't notice $300 million. Okay, believe that. Also, yesterday, Ippy was released on $25,000 bond. By the way, he has not entered a plea yet. Okay, his arraignment hearing is scheduled for May 9th at 11:30 a.m. But this will be interesting to follow. This will be interesting, but good grief, do not say to a Dodgers fan that it's impossible that Ohtani didn't know this was happening. Because if you do, they will never leave you alone. That's it. All right? Yelich yesterday. Andrea, they have people to watch his money. You're telling me that he never looks at his money? Boston Paul, that's fine. You believe what you want. It's just my opinion. It just makes no sense to me. That's my opinion. If you believe that a guy could steal over $325 million out of an account that never probably had more than a couple $1,000,000 at a time, he's never got paid that much. He made a lot of money from promos and stuff like that. And I have no problem with people and their opinions, but literally to tell me that this guy never once looks at his accounts, never noticed 19,000 different bets made by his buddy, then something's wrong there. I mean, it doesn't make sense. Yelich was removed from yesterday's game against the Orioles early. He has lower back discomfort, and you know what that means. Yelich and his lower back discomfort, something to watch out for. We do not know how serious the injury is yet. But the decision that they made to remove him from the game it could be precautionary. We just don't know. He's dealt with these lower back issues before. He was replaced by Blake Perkins before the bottom half of the second. Boston Paul says all he cares about is what he needs, and he just wants Ohtani to be innocent. Okay, that makes sense. But think about the two things that you just said. Of course you want him to be innocent. Is that clouding your judgment? Is it just so easy to be like, oh, Ohtani's innocent, he didn't know anything about it, and by the way, they're trying to say that Ippy never bet on baseball? I mean, this guy was desperate. This guy was so desperate and so... I won't say he was so bad at gambling, because typically a guy that gambles a lot is going to probably lose more than he wins, even if he only ever remembers the good stuff. He was not good at gambling. He was down $140 million and he won $40 million less than he lost. So why wouldn't he bet on baseball? This was an illegal bookie that he was making all these bets with. You're telling me a guy that has like the front row seat to the insides of baseball would not bet on baseball when it comes down to the fact, oh, I'm down $40 million. Of course you're going to bet on baseball. You're desperate. But I'll go with the story that they put out, and I'm fine with sweeping this under the rug. But don't forget, MLB has their own self-interest. So does the Dodgers, and so do the Dodgers fans, and so does everybody else out there that just praise that Ohtani is innocent because he's the best guy you've ever seen play baseball. It's fine. Let's move on. But please don't ever tell me that it's obvious that Ohtani didn't know anything about it and didn't bet on baseball and hates all kinds of gambling, because he's so interested in being the best at baseball that he never pays attention to his bank account, and geez Louise, this guy seems like the easiest putz I've ever heard of, okay? Yes, he's great at baseball, but how do you not? It just doesn't make sense. Okay, let's move on, because I know I could just get in these modes where I'm just like blah, 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 and they just keep going and going when it's time to talk about Jackson Holiday, MLB debut on Wednesday. What an exciting team this is. I hope Eddie gets to the chat room soon, because... is he here?
Yeah, he's under the name of somebody else.
Okay, Eddie, great to see you. Eddie and Teresa, I know you guys had some electric issues, or the electricity... Okay, you're Javier. All right, buddy. Let's talk about Jackson Holiday. How exciting it is for the Orioles fan this season. And I'll tell you what. There's a guy on X that I follow. His name is Orioles Gatekeeper. He's always at the bar before the game, and he's always slamming beers. He's just a fun-loving dude. But apparently, and I wonder if Eddie could clue me in on this, apparently there's a guy that's supposedly some trust fund kid that's always at the games trying to get the foul balls, the home run balls, and all this. Well, Orioles fandom has seriously turned on this poor guy. They put his picture up and they're like, if you're in this section, or if you're in this section, be aware of this guy and don't let him get any balls. It's pretty funny, but I wonder if Eddie knows about this guy that's supposedly this trust fund baby that's always at the ballpark stealing the home run balls, as if you're stealing them anyway. I mean, they go to whoever they go to. But let's talk about Jackson Holiday. And I'd also like to bring up this wonderful foot-long hot dog that the Orioles have at the ballpark that just crushes that sandwich in Pittsburgh with all the pierogies on it and stuff. This one hot dog in Baltimore, dude, it's got that smoked beef brisket on it that they're famous for at the ballpark. It's got like this brew pub cheese sauce on it. It's a foot-long hot dog with onions, and it's called a warehouse hot dog. And boy, would I love one of those. Jackson Holiday's MLB debut on Wednesday. A 7-5 Orioles win over the Red Sox. They delivered a strong audience for the MLB network. How strong, you say? Well, considering it didn't even air in Baltimore or Boston, they still averaged 626,000 viewers, which is the second most watched game in a regular season in the network's 15-year history. The only game that surpassed Jackson Holiday's debut was Derek Jeter's final game with the New York Yankees in 2014. I get chills. I feel like I wish I lived closer to Baltimore. I wonder if I could take the train. I bet I could take the train to Baltimore to catch a game. If that's true, Eddie, can you and Teresa pick me up at the train station? I just would love to come to Baltimore and see a game. It's too exciting what's going on over there. Ohtani's home run was the 175th home run of his career, tying him with Hideki Matsui for the most home runs among Japanese-born players in MLB history. He also has 12 extra base hits. That's the most by a player in the first 15 games with the Dodgers since at least 1901. Cardinals outfielder Lars Nootbaar was playing in his first game of the season. He hit a 438-foot home run, traveling 110 miles an hour off the bats. And what is going to happen with Victor Scott? I thought he would get sent down when Lars Nootbaar came back. However, Tommy Edman and Dylan Carlson are both still on the injured list, so Victor Scott seems to be able to keep some playing time in the major leagues. The train station is at the stadium. Holy moly. I might have to look at that. I've taken the train one time to Philly. I don't think it would be that much further to take it to Boston. It was a very comfortable ride, and Lenny doesn't really like to go to games, but boy, would a Baltimore game be so mumuch fun. Nolan Arenado entered the game with 5 RBIs and no home runs, and he ended the drought with a 425-foot, 3-run home run. Nolan Arenado, all right, breaking out of a little slump to start the season. But the guys who are not in a slump is Mookie Betts, Shohei Ohtani, Freddie Freeman, and Will Smith, who are all batting .358 on the season. We will talk about Paul Blackburn so far this season. 7 scoreless innings, 6 scoreless innings. Those were his 2 first outings. And yesterday he did not factor in the decision against the Nationals, but he threw another 6 1/3 innings, scoreless, 5 hits, 2 walks. He struck out 4. Paul Blackburn now has 19 1/3 consecutive innings without allowing a run over his first 3 starts. He's 30 years old, 0 ERA, .72 whip, 11 strikeouts, 3 walks. His next start is scheduled to be at home against the Cardinals. He's the first pitcher in A's franchise history with scoreless starts in each of his first 3 outings of the season. I'll have to talk to you privately, Eddie, and we'll work out some time to come. Paul Skeens made a 3rd start of the season at AAA yesterday, allowed 3 hits and a walk while striking out 8 across 3 1/3 scoreless innings. He threw 55 total pitches with 36 going for strikes. Paul Skeens, in total, 9 1/3 scoreless innings with 19 strikeouts. This guy is a strikeout master, just like his future teammate Jared Jones in the Pirates rotation. We don't know when Skeens will get the call-up, but when he does, he should be on everybody's list. 3 hyped-up 20-year-old guys named Jackson. One of them is hitting over 300. Great, Mal Pal. It's Jackson Churio, Jackson Holiday, and who's the other Jackson? Who gets it first? Who's the other Jackson? Jackson Holiday, Jackson Churio, and need to get some pitching before they can do some bitching. That's good, Leonard Donaldson. He's talking about the Astros got nothing to fight about at the moment. But Turd says that the Astros and the Rangers need a fight. Why am I not surprised coming from Turd, right? Okay. Merrill. Oh, Jackson Merrill. Yes. The San Diego Padres youngster. That's true. All right, since RBI became official, 2 MLB players have had a 4-game span with 9 or more hits, 9 or more RBIs, 6 or more walks, 4 or more home runs, and a 600 batting average. Since RBI became official, 2 players have had a 4-game span with 9 hits, 9 RBIs, 6 walks, 4 home runs, and a 600 batting average. Obviously, Mookie Betts over his last 4 games, and the other one was Babe Ruth from July 28th to July 31st, 1932. The Dodgers' top 4 spots in the order through 15 games are batting .353 with a .436 on-base percentage, a 1.032 OPS. That's the second highest OPS by a team's top 4 through 15 games since at least 1906. And we're really missing you, Captain Danny, talking about these Dodgers. Danny Jansen will catch for Alek Manoah in the first of 2 AAA Buffalo games today. Manoah is slated to go 5 innings, throw 75 pitches, and will be followed by injured Eric Swanson and Jordan Romano. Now, Danny Jansen will also play tomorrow and return Monday against the Yankees if possible. So you got probably going to take some at-bats away from Alejandro Kirk again. Now, the Blue Jays are also optimistic that Jordan Romano will and Eric Swanson will join the active roster within the next several days. So you're going to get your closers back. Mitchell, great to see you. Nice to see everybody in the chat room just chatting away. It's very good. Oh, hey, Eddie's almost at Caroline, Allison, and Natalie's house. That's the 3 beautiful granddaughters that he's going to see, apparently. So give them all a hug for us, Eddie. The Red Sox defense has been a mess. 13 unearned runs in 54 innings since Trevor Story's injury, and through 13 games, their infield defense has been among the worst in the big leagues again. Another team that sucks is the White Sox. They've had 16 home series since July 1st of last year, and they won one of them. Just one, and it happened to be against the Yankees. Here's for you, Stardog. The Kansas City Royals are 9-4 and have the 3rd best record in the American League behind the Yankees and the Guardians. Kansas City has won 7 straight, sweeping the White Sox and the Astros. The Royals starters have a 1.96 ERA and have averaged the most innings per start in Major League Baseball. Also, for your information, according to King Turd, Jack Leiter has punched out 10 last night. Garrett Crochet's 21 strikeouts so far this season are tied with Chris Sale for the most in a pitcher's first 3 career starts in White Sox franchise history. Garrett Crochet pitches again today. The record number of strikeouts for the first 4 career starts is 27 by Bruce Howard. Carlos Correa left yesterday's game in the third inning. The Twins quickly announced that he has been diagnosed with a right oblique strain. Manager Rocco Baldelli said post-game that the Twins are awaiting results from an MRI before they know a timetable for Carlos Correa's return. The team expects he will indeed require a stint on the injured list, and Willie Castro is expected to serve as the primary shortstop while Carlos Correa is on the shelf. Now, we talk about Mike Kurland a lot. He does the MLB Playing Time website, Mike Kurland on X. Marlins Braxton Garrett he went 6 innings and 86 pitches in his rehab last night. His velo was still similar to last year, and he's looking healthy and could return to the rotation next week. Braxton Garrett. Now, we have some players to pick up. We have a couple to talk about today. We're going to talk first about Cody Bradford, Texas Rangers. He's owned in a lot of leagues, I'll give you that. But in case he's available, he's important to bring up because according to another guy that I follow who's a big NFBC high-stakes guy, Gecko Industries, he talks about, sorry, Michael Lorenzen, but Bradford is locked in this rotation because we did think that he might lose his job once the Texas pitchers started getting healthy. He was a popular streaming option heading into April 10th, because he pitched against the A's. He did good against the A's, not saying that much, right? 6 2/3, 5 hits, 1 unearned run, and struck out 7. That was his third win of the season. Now, we thought he would be the first guy pulled from the rotation, but he's only allowed 3 earned runs and 5 combined hits in his first 3 starts, which is 19 and a third innings. Turd says, and Turd is our Texas Rangers resident insider, says that Haney or Gray will lose their job before Bradford. So if Cody Bradford is there and available, you can go ahead and grab him tomorrow. Malpal says the Rangers should boot Haney. I agree. Now, another guy that I wanted to bring up that Gecko Industries turned me on to is the guy named Christian Scott, who is part of the Mets minor league system. He's at AAA. Now, over the last 150 hitters that Christian Scott has faced between AA, spring training, and AAA this year, he has struck out 64 batters, which is a 43% strikeout rate, and he only walked 3 batters, which is a 2% walk rate. And I don't know if you can pick up youngsters before they play in the majors, but if you can, you might want to look at Christian Scott. Now, there is a little bit of question as to when the Mets will call this kid up, even though they do have a lot of problems with their starting pitchers, and they did just designate Julio Teheran, which probably confused a lot of Mets fans with like, what the hell are you doing? We don't even have a full rotation, but they do have this guy Buto. Jose Buto is going to get called up tomorrow against the Royals. Now, he gave New York a quality start in his first outing with the big club this season, so he's already been called up and sent back down 1 time, but he's likely to get at least a couple of more turns as he gets called up today to go up against the Kansas City Royals, which is the only thing that's really keeping Christian Scott from getting called up really soon is this Jose Buto, who seems to be first in line to get an opportunity. But don't forget, you have Hauser. You have 4 healthy pitchers that are already in the majors: Jose Quintana, Luis Severino, Sean Manaea, and Adrian Hauser. And then you have Kodai Senga, 60-day injured list. David Peterson, 60-day injured list. Tyler McGill is also hurt, 15-day injured list. Now, Jose Buto will be recalled to make the start tomorrow. He tossed 6 innings of 1-run ball in a spot start last week against the Tigers after nearly winning a rotation spot because he had such a great spring training. He's 26. Christian Scott is a little bit younger, but if anybody is, Christian Scott's available in just about every league, even dynasty leagues. I just found him available in this really deep dynasty league that I do. So I believe that Christian Scott was not really high up on anybody's radar, even though he did have a good spring training, I gotta say. And once again, over the last 150 hitters faced between AA, spring training, and AAA this year, he has struck out 64 batters and only walked 3. There you go. That's more than just one starting pitcher potential pickup. You got Jose Butto, Christian Scott, and Cody Bradford. Now let's talk also about Spencer Turnbull, who's probably picked up in any league that doesn't wait till Sunday. He's yet to allow Spencer Turnbull is yet to allow an earned run in his first 2 starts, which, by the way, is a pretty big feat since he's at Phillies and that ballpark is not real great, okay, for pitchers like him. 13 strikeouts in 11 innings, a 128 batting average against, 5 hits allowed in his first 2 starts. He is going to start today against the Pirates, who are tied for 4th in MLB with 69 runs scored. So keep an eye on Spencer Turnbull. If you have to wait till tomorrow, you might want to make a bid. It seems like he might have figured it out. SM King Turd says Scott is not available in his league. He's pitcher eligible only, and we have no pitcher slots. That's weird. What does this mean? Anyway, Jose, let's talk about some closer situations here. You got Jose Leclerc. The Rangers manager Bruce Bochy said after yesterday's game that Leclerc will be working low-leverage situations temporarily until he gets where he needs to be. You know, he had his first blown save and second loss of the season on Tuesday and said afterward that he's still working to refine his mechanics. So the Rangers will have him iron out his issues in lower leverage spots before revisiting a return to the closer role. The club was said to be pleased with Leclerc's scoreless 6th inning yesterday, but David Robertson is the guy now. There's a couple. David Robertson has a 1.08 ERA in 8 appearances so far this season, and he's the obvious candidate to step into the closer role, even though, don't forget about Kirby Yates, who worked the 9th inning yesterday in a non-save situation. So it looks like between David Robertson and Kirby Yates, they will be getting the save opportunities for the Texas Rangers until Leclerc irons out his problems. So Laura says that the Mets are going to win today and they will be at 500. So suck on that, Mets haters. And by the way, do I dare not mention this? Of course I mentioned this. I'm going to back up a little bit and remind you about what the Phillies fans did. They decided they were going to be nice to Trey Turner last year when he was having a massive slump, and Phillies fans are not that nice if they don't like what you're doing out there. If you give good results, the Phillies fans are nice to you. If you don't, they will boo you on the first day of the season, as they did this year. Now, Lindor has the same problem Trey Turner did, although Lindor starts out slow. This is like becoming a thing for him. He typically gets it together and starts doing well. But the Mets fans decided they were going to root for Francisco Lindor. And, of course, there was a couple jackasses that said, no, we're going to boo him until he does better. But I was very adamant when I said, don't worry, the cheers will clearly drown out the boos, and that's exactly what happened when Lindor came up to bat yesterday. He got a big standing ovation. There were some boos, but you couldn't hear them because the good outweighs the bad in most things in life, and that's the way it works. Francisco Lindor is one of the most talented, likable guys in the major leagues. I think the Mets fans, they get frustrated with him, rightfully so. We rely on Francisco Lindor a lot to keep that team good. And when he's doing bad, it's pretty disturbing to Mets fans. But don't forget, booing a player is never going to help him hit better. It might not affect him if you're lucky, but it's not going to make him feel better. If it makes you feel better to boo people, then maybe you should look in the mirror and figure out what you're doing. Because Lindor is one of the best shortstops, not just offensively, but defensively. He's a great guy. Everybody likes him. He's got a wonderful smile that he's always showing, and he deserves a little love from his home team fans. Speaking of relief pitchers again, Michael Kopech looks to be the White Sox closer. He has saves in 2 of his last 3 games, including a 2-inning, 4-strikeout job on Tuesday against the Guardians. Kopech seems to be getting whatever save chances the White Sox do get, and don't forget, even the worst teams win 60 games, and the worst teams typically get save opportunities when they do win those games because they never score a ton of runs. So they never blow out the other team. And remember, the game has to be within 2 runs to qualify for a save. So even the worst teams get 60 wins, and most of those are save situations. Michael Kopech, is the closer on April 13th, 2024. Now, that is subject to change, as we all know, but for now, it's Michael Kopech. Now, let me tell you about another guy this guy, Gecko Industries, who I follow on X. Feel free to follow him too. He's a good guy, great knowledge of baseball, very smart at NFBC. Talking about James McArthur from the Kansas City Royals. He's recorded 2 saves and a win in 3 appearances since April 5th. He seems to be the closer for the Royals. He did give up 4 runs in 3 innings in his first 3 appearances of the season, but I will point out, which Gecko Industry proudly reposted from Greg Jewett, which is 7 relief pitchers have posted strikeout minus walk percentages above 20. A swinging strikeout percentage above 15, a strike percentage above 65, and a contact rate allowed less than 65% through action on Thursday, and James McArthur is on the list. Now, there's other guys on this list too, which are interesting. We have Mason Miller, who's everybody loves because he's throwing 103. Everybody's like, woo, 103. That's wonderful. And I say, dude, I get chills in my stomach, like anxiety when I see a pitcher throwing 103. Okay, that's all there is to it. Greg Jewett posted this about James McArthur. Gecko Industries has posted about James McArthur, even wrote an article for Vlad Settler in FTN Fantasy about James McArthur, about how nobody drafted this guy, but he is a good closer. He's got the closer stuff, the closer mentality, and if he continues to do good, his stuff will keep him that job in Kansas City and beyond. So if McArthur is available, you should snatch him up immediately. The catcher of the day for picking up is Ivan Herrera, St. Louis Cardinals. Now, Wilson Contreras is clearly their catcher, but he does get hurt sometimes, and he also slots in at designated hitter. This guy fills in at catcher when Contreras is hurt or plays DH. All right. He hits in the heart of the order when he is in the lineup. From April 4th to 10th, Ivan Herrera hit cleanup 3 times, batted 5th twice, and 6th once. He also did some damage, smacking 3 home runs with 5 RBI in that span, and he could be a good pickup in 2 catcher formats. For a second baseman, you have Cavan Biggio. I know, it's cringeworthy, absolutely. So let me get that out of the way. But the fact that it's cringeworthy means that Cavan Biggio is available in your league. He's hit in 6 straight games raising his batting average to .294 with a home run and a stolen base. He hasn't hit double figures in either of those categories since 2019, when he, by the way, in case you all forget, he was an overhyped rookie. All right, he came up with the likes of Vladdy Jr. and Bichette, and all three of them were on a pedestal so high. Now, granted, Biggio has not done anything in the majors since 2019 to prove that he's worth picking up. But if you need help at second base, he bats in the middle of the lineup every game since April 6th, and he also qualifies at multiple positions, so it's not just for second base people out there. But okay, if you're desperate, Biggio is getting it done. And the third baseman of the day is Brett Baty. I know a lot of people just left him sitting there, and that's fine, but I was targeting Brett Baty or Mark Vientos in the last round of every draft. You can ask Malpal. I started harassing him about getting Baty or Vientos. Now, Baty and Vientos have a lot of big problems, okay? They are not going to help your batting average. In fact, they are the biggest deterrent to a good batting average that you could possibly get in fantasy. But I knew, and this was before JD Martinez came around. But by the way, JD Martinez, what a joke this is. They sent Vientos down to the minors. The poor guy was practically crying. He wants to play in the majors just like everybody. And he gets sent down for a character that hasn't even played and now has low back problems. So go figure. But when is Vientos coming back? I don't know. Brett Baty is playing third base every day. And mostly it's because they don't have anyone else to put there. Now last year, Brett Baty hit .212 with 109 strikeouts and 353 at-bats, but he was a top prospect at one time. This year, he's hitting .325, one home run. Okay, he has hit either fourth or fifth in every game for the Mets since April 4th, and he hits right behind Lindor and Alonso in the lineup. So there you go. It's Brett Baty week. Pick him up. Josh Smith for the Texas Rangers, owned in 4%. Josh Young he is expected to be out until around early to mid-June, and Josh Smith got the opportunity for playing time, and he's taking advantage of it. Since April 2nd, Josh Smith has hit in 7 of 8 games, batting .346 with 6 RBIs. He's hit as high as second in the Texas lineup, although he usually hits anywhere he can do some damage and put up some good. Anywhere he hits, he will still put up decent counting stats while he's in the lineup, and he will stay in the lineup until Josh Young is back, and that is mid-June. Josh Smith, Texas Rangers, that could be your third base guy. For shortstop, Jose Caballero. You know, Jose C., the guy who plays for the Tampa Bay Rays, shortstop. He already has 5 steals. He's hitting .351. He's hit in the bottom third of the lineup except for 2 of his starts. But still, the Rays do put up runs, and this guy can help your fantasy team. Now, he probably won't keep up .351 batting average, okay? But still, for shortstop, obviously, you go for this guy, Jose C., Tampa Bay Rays shortstop. All right, the next guy on the list is Brandon Marsh, who plays for the Phillies, 22% owned. He's been a very popular pickup this week, so I'm sorry if you missed out on him, but he's doing good. He's batting .333 with 3 home runs. He's a lefty hitter at a great ballpark for lefties. Last year, 12 home runs, 10 stolen bases, but he does hit in the bottom of the order. So, Brandon Marsh, outfielder for the Phillies. Another outfielder that you might want to look at is Sal Frelick, Milwaukee Brewers. He's waiting on his first home run of the season still, but he's batting pretty good. .289 with the .372 on base percentage. Very good improvement from what he did last year, which was 28 walks and 37 strikeouts in 2023. He does have decent plate discipline. He's playing every day since Garrett Mitchell has been out, and he could remain in the lineup the rest of the season, either playing the infield or the outfield. So another guy with eligibility here, Sal Frelick. And we'll end the show with the booming and the bright Colton Cowser, another Orioles. And I'm going to talk to Lenny after the show, but I want to take the train to come see the Orioles. I'm going to have myself one of those warehouse dogs, a foot-long hot dog with everything in the kitchen sink on it, including beer pub cheese sauce, some horseradish stuff, some barbecue beef brisket. Everything comes on this hot dog. All right, let's talk about Colton Cowser. 6 RBI in the past 2 games. He's pulling his weight in the loaded Orioles lineup. He is sitting against some lefties, which Turd brought up on X today, and he is very curious to see if Colton Cowser starts against a lefty, DL Hall, today. And that will be interesting. But obviously, Colton Cowser getting a lot of love and fab money. Now, don't forget, though, this guy is going to not... First of all, they wouldn't have let him come up unless they were going to try to get him some playing time. If they're benching him against lefties, that's one thing. I mean, it's obviously more convenient to have this guy in a lineup where you can make daily moves. However, lefties don't come up that often. The majority of the pitchers are right-handed pitchers, so Colton Cowser on the strong side of a platoon, if he's platooning at all. But I would venture to say that these guys I'm talking about guys like Austin Hayes, who are about to lose their job because they are so loaded on this team that nothing can stop the Orioles. I hope everybody has a wonderful day. It's a beautiful day. And tomorrow is Lady and the Legend. Do you have anything, Legend?
No, I can't. I can't.
And Laura, we'll catch you, Gabe, when it gets sunnier out and stuff. And we'll meet you at the diner as soon as Lenny gives me his answer. And anyway, we just love all of you. We thank you so much for coming to talk baseball with us. And we hope you enjoy your day. We will see you tomorrow at 9 a.m. Eastern sharp. So be there or be square.